So Parvez Imroz didn't have the passport for 11 years because Government of India denied him the passport for the work which he has been doing. And many of our other colleagues also were refused passport for a long time. And it was only after the intervention of UN and a lot of lobbying and a lot of shaming of India every time that he was issued passport in 2015. But because he is well connected, because of our work, international community supports us. There were many people in UN and other places who spoke about him. He got the passport. But there are thousands and thousands of students also who are not activists who wanted to get passport to study abroad. They're not getting that. So that's the kind of democracy India wants to practice in Kashmir, where they would annihilate all kinds of voices of dissent in Jammu and Kashmir and have this formal elections every year, exactly the way Saddam Hussein, before being thrown out from the government, held a referendum for himself for showing that he has support of Iraqi people. So that's the kind of elections which are happening here. You want to start it and then I'll open the curtains?
Uh, so I want to ask about the significance of civil society, because obviously, you're talking about some key individuals, and I'm tempted to ask you about your personal stories because I know each of you also has spent some time in jail and time facing repression from the Indian government and the military forces here. But you preside over a coalition of civil society groups that must have some strategic significance in your viewpoint. Let's hear a little bit about the strategies and the tactics that you and the organizations you've worked with in coalition feel are necessary at this moment, and how some things are being challenged and changed about strategies and tactics.
You see, in the era of globalization, that it is not globalization of economy, but also the globalization of responsibility. So we have the global civil society, and of course the civil society have been playing very important role. For example, I was mentioning about the American civil society role against the Vietnam War or against Iraq war. So we as a civil society believe that we have, I mean, in J&K, while the spaces have been taken by the government or the politicians, right? And we believe that a vibrant civil society is very important, which is committed to international values, international humanitarian law, because as a civil society activist, I can trust the politicians, right? And unless and until there's not a vibrant civil society, finally politicians are not going to take people seriously. We had the examples, for example, in Palestine also. So the role of our effort is, number one, how we can organize here the civil society, the how we can build a public opinion here about the issues which are affecting our lives, right? For example, the role of a civil society in democracy are that they are a medium between the people and the authorities, between the government, because they're in the government, in a democratic setup, there's a contract between the people and the authorities. But in an occupation or in a suppression and oppression as we are facing in Kashmir, the role of civil society is very different, right? It is to expose the lies of the government. It is to confront the government, to document the, I mean, the excesses, the atrocities being perpetrated by a government on the name of peace, on the name of fighting terrorism, on the name of democracy. I mean, paradox is that. So we feel that it is our responsibility to do what we believe is important to change, for a change, right? So in that process, we believe that the civil society as an institution is very important to build, right? Which we are in the process, and we are happy from 2000, we have been doing what is very important, like campaigning against the enforced disappearances, campaigning against the killings, extrajudicial killings, torture, and besides also how we can seek reach the international community, so that we can mobilize. As I said earlier, the role of civil society is also how we can engage the international global civil society, because we believe that the civil society in Europe or international civil society, they have to be engaged, because unless and until you are not telling them the truth about Kashmir, right? Because government does matter. I'm telling you frankly that the European governments or any government from any democracy, finally it's not the moral relations between the governments are not on the moralities. It is on the trade relations. India is the largest supplier of the trade weapons after I think Saudi Arabia is the largest importer. They can shut the mouths of the countries. For example, you have the Rafale deal with France, then Israel deal with other governments. But the civil society is very important, for that. It's a long drawn, very frustrating process. It's not very easy, And we have to learn from the civil society what they have been doing in South Africa, for example, or the Palestine, or other areas, even in US. Then when it started from the Boston Tea Party, that how they galvanized the public opinion. So we in Kashmir, we are also fighting to create a space for a civil society, because we are not for power. For example, that if tomorrow the conflict is resolved, Kashmir dispute is over, we will continue as a civil society here, and at that time our fears are the politicians finally they will forget the past. They normally what has been practiced, bygones are bygones, let us have a start. But we as a civil society believe that what has happened here, it should not happen again, and for that you have to do the things which are very important to do.
Yeah, the work which we have done in last 2 decades and a little more than 2 decades has had reprisals on us. We have been targeted. Advocate Parvez Imroz was attacked in 1996, then again in 2005, and then again in 2008. I was attacked in 2004. Our car was attacked with a bomb, and my colleague Asia Jalani, she was a human rights defender working with us. She was killed in that bomb blast, and our driver also died. I was injured, and my right leg had to be amputated. It's an artificial limb. So and then in 2016 I was jailed because I was going to UN Human Rights Council session at Geneva. So I was prevented from New Delhi and brought back, and then here arrested for 2.5 months. So all that has been happening to us: threats, intimidation, maligning. All those things have been happening to us. But we are, despite all these provocations, we are committed to non-violence. We believe that it would be in the interest of state to turn any kind of legitimate resistance into violent resistance, because for states like India, which has perfected the art of violence, they cannot be happy if more than happy by having an armed resistance, because that's where they deal with people more violently. It creates a legitimacy for militarization, it creates legitimacy for violence of the state. So we do not want to give them that legitimacy by turning frustrated in our work. So we are committed to non-violence. We would want to work forward to promote non-violence in Kashmir. We were very happy in last 10 years. We saw there was a huge transformation of Kashmiri struggle from violence to non-violence. The mainstream expression of Kashmiri society became non-violent in 2008 when we had huge civil uprising. And then 2009 we saw more protests, and 2010 was again year of protest. In 2016 it's